Okay, so I figured I'd do a follow up to the Orphans episode the other day, and I think a lot of people end up using that aspect because it's a very clear cut way to get the internal drama rolling, uh, and it gives the writer a way to like mold the orphan character into something that they want to see at the end. Usually, I mean, I've noticed this more with like older stories. Usually, those stories will have the orphan character gain the thing that they really want in the end, which most times is like a stable family. At least from what I've seen of other stories I've read. But it is often used, and just like anything else with like a lot of postmodern connotations to it, they don't rebuild, they just deconstruct. And that's the heart of the problem with a whole lot of entertainment nowadays. Everybody has a lot more fun tearing things apart, but they don't build the stuff back up. It's the reason why, even though I don't like a majority of how dark Berserk is, the moments that have like lighter moments to it, it's the writer basically building Guts back up. I mean, and he knocks him over more often than not. But in the later stuff, when he's getting his new kind of air quote Band of the Hawk set up, but it's more of a traveling party. Not as big as the old Hawks, but you can see him building some of these characters back up. And some other stories, like, people will usually gravitate towards that because some people do like more of that internal struggle and seeing the results of a build up like that. Me personally, I'm like kind of wavering away from that for the most part with my series. I just want like simple archetypes, and there's going to be a handful of characters that'll have a character arc where they change over time, but the majority of them are going to remain fairly static just because that's just what I want to see. Like, I just want to have the handful of characters that will stand out because they change, and I want the other ones to stand out because they stay rooted in who they are. And the thing of it is like so many stories have all this like a built up internal drama where the person's not sure of who they are or even what they want, and sometimes it makes it feel kind of listless. And it's just like real life has enough of those annoying problems where it's like, okay, where do I fit in the grand scheme of things? Like, I see enough of that in real life to where it's just like, nah, when it comes to my writing, I want all these characters to, for the most part, to have a very firm idea of who they are. The more atoner type character is the Piper, white and black to a certain extent. That's the reason why I have the weave comment on certain things. It's like, it's just the way I want to do it, people. You don't have to do it the way I'm doing it. This is the Uplift Protocol is purely a passion project on my end of everything I want to see. Sometimes that's like the only way you'll end up getting something you truly want is you'll have to build it yourself. If nobody's making it, then you got to step up to the plate. And that same thing goes for different tropes or cliches people use, or even different kinds of setups. Again, the orphan angle. The orphan stories I usually remember better, like even with Bioshock 1 or, Little Orphan Annie, is those stuck with me because they, in the end, got the family they wanted. They were able to build something from an unfortunate circumstance, But honestly, how to say this? Everybody kind of goes overboard with like kind of like the Batman background. Uh, but even though I personally don't really engage with Batman all that much, I could see how the basic elements of that character could be engaging to people. But it's almost like, again, when you have people trying to copy certain things, it's like it feels more like a copy than them rolling their 2 cents in. There seems to be a distinct difference between the two. Because when you're trying to copy something without understanding what you want to do with the copy, with the zigzag, then it just comes off as ringing a bit hollow. Again, all this is just my opinion. Take it as you will. So for my angle on a semi-orphan status, see these kids over at what I introduced with the courier initially, and his little cabal of or collection, or maybe like cast-offs, because cabal sounds like they're trying something nefarious, but not really. No, they're just a collection of basically genetic orphans. House Caifusquero basically got rid of them because they were air quote mute. They have other abilities and things like that, but if you don't have telepathy as a basic, then a lot of these absolutely retarded houses, the bad guy houses, will be like, oh, you're not even worth the thing on my boot, and unfortunately, Set has overtaken more and more houses. Now again, there's a plot point of the reason why he wasn't able to take Odessen, Ayer, Mita, and a little bit of the lore house, is because those houses have intermingled over the years, and so the nanites, the special medical nanites that Kalain put into them, into his whole family line, and then also to his sub-houses of Ayer, well, that protected them from Set's influence later on down the line. But you'll also see that they're pulling in allies from the multiverse, but they have to, they're like kind of like a slow wind-up. Kind of like I took the idea of when the Shadows were doing a slow build-up so they wouldn't get noticed as much. Well, I figured the good guys would be, kind of subtle in that approach, if they were trying to pretend that they didn't have as much, tech on their side as they do. But, the bad guys are also about to do a bit of a blitzkrieg. So, yeah, the opening flares are about to go up in the series. But as far as using, to get back on topic, as far as using the orphan angle, they're not truly orphaned in the same way that they don't know who their parents are. But unfortunately, they know that they have been rejected. So I want to set up a kind of a happier ending for those kids, because eventually, like I put in the other issue, they're going to eventually get adopted by Sam and Jacob and their respective spouses. Kind of like, because there's a lot of the kids. There's like 20 of them, because I didn't really lay out how many there were initially. But you'll see in the upcoming issues, they have like a whole other subsystem of working through things. And it was just my way of saying every kid needs to be loved at some point. That's my basic takeaway from that, and what I wanted to do with that. It's like, even if certain people will reject you, other people will embrace you and make you their own, or like into a functional family unit. Because if you haven't noticed, most of Upload Protocol is about family. But yeah, I can definitely understand the overuse of the orphan trope. Most times it's a springboard that the writer can use to, again, generate all that drama. And depending on what kind of point of view you want to do, it's either a whole lot of internal waffling. And again, I'm the type of person where it's like, I don't really much care for the characters' internal doubts right now. I rather see characters that are very comfortable with who they are. In terms of like the heroes, they don't have much internal doubt, except for like maybe a worry every once in a while, but they don't have the internal doubt of who they are and where they're going. They might have some genuine worries about certain kinds of actions and everything, but at their core, they know who they are and what they want and what they are seeking. Again, that's just what I want as a writer and what I want as a reader. I want people that are extremely sure of themselves, not to the point of arrogance, but again, that they're centered and they know what they want, and they're not waffling about, and they're not like just to generate extra drama points. It's like, wham bam, thank you ma'am. They're going to take on the enemy and they're going to succeed. That, and even in Bioshock 1, Jack was used as a tool initially, but allowed the freedom of choice to choose whether or not to save or to reject the little sisters. That's the reason why that, more traditional good guy ending of number 1 stuck with me. Even now, like, it gave me a sense of satisfaction that even though Jack came from a background where everything was uncertain, especially after the revelation that, would you kindly basically made him an automaton in some instances, he was able to overcome that and create a concrete family and identity for himself at the end. Like I've said with my writing, I want a character that's already concrete in their personality and their actions and their core values, and it'll spin out from there. Not that the character won't have any worries. Again, most characters will at some point have some doubt, but that big difference is they have a set code of ethics and morals that, the heroes won't cross that line. The bad guys are more than happy to cross that line daily, but what makes both the heroes and villains fundamentally different is how they react or act on different actions and situations. So yeah, Teal Deer, I used a bit of the orphan background to generate a little bit of sympathy for these kids, in comparison to the aloofness of their patron house that rejected them, Iratha's house of fun and joy, and in the end to promote the themes of family that they'll find in the, at their concluding part of their arc. Have a good day, everybody.